Today we're going to be talking about Rivian. Their slogan is "Keep the world adventurous forever." So moving on to company profile, they say that we believe there is a more responsible way to explore the world and are determined to make the transition to sustainable transportation an exciting one. We designed our emissions-free electric adventure vehicles to challenge what's possible. Because I couldn't find their company mission and vision statement, so I just took off what they were, and that's what they are. So big word, big long word, minus that would be they are just an American electric vehicle automaker and a automotive technology company. However, when I first heard what Rivian was, this is what I thought it was. But another truck company like Ford. Because I don't drive a truck. I've never driven a truck before. But the first news I still remember that showed up was Rivian, the EV Ford truck machine making company. So I was like, oh, they must make trucks, but must be EV. Well, let's get started. We'll talk about their CEO, who is this guy. His name is Robert R.J. Scrunge. Interesting last name, but we'll just call him RJ for this presentation. Now, he is actually a huge car loving person where he loves driving his cars up to the woods and, you know, enjoying the environment, the nature. And one day he notices that the car is actually having negative effect environmentally. So then he kind of goes, hey, why don't I create something that's environmentally friendly so that he could drive up to the mountains without, or like the woods, without feeling bad about it. Which is true. Cars do create lots of bad emissions to the world. And that's one of the biggest reasons why people should be driving less cars. Of course, there's also like factories, but cars is also a big issue. Now, for college, he did go to Rensselaer Polytech Institute with a degree in mechanical engineering. And for his master's, he went to MIT, very good college, for mechanical engineering as well. And finally got a doctorate in the Sloan Automotive Lab in MIT. So kind of stayed all his life mostly in MIT. And now how the company started was back in 2009. He went back to Florida and he's like, you know, this is the moment I've gotten my doctorate degree. I know a lot about mechanical engineering and how cars should be invented and everything. Well, let's start making it. So their first company that they developed was actually called Mainstream Motors, which moved to Avera Automotive and finally to Rivian. But he went back to Florida where they, you know, started it. And he got the name Rivian from the river named Indian River, which is apparently located in this area. So when you guys go there, just kind of be like, oh, this is where, or this is how Rivian was created. Now, the main motive initially for this car company was that they weren't focused on creating a car, but wanted to focus more on environment and sustainability. So something to save the earth. This was a good purpose and I really liked it. 2011, their first car came out called R1. So their R1 car is a sports car, which is a, you know, it was just a hybrid coupe, mid-engine, nothing too special about it, but they're actually didn't start out with being a truck company. They actually wanted to start out, you know, as a sports car electric vehicle. It might be because they actually started the car company right after Tesla finished their IPO or around that like time period. So maybe they wanted to be, hey, we're gonna be the next Tesla. But later he found out that sports car doesn't have much usage and he wanted something that has more of a big impact to the environment, or I guess to the world. Because if you guys think about it, people don't buy as much sports car than other cars, especially trucks. And, you know, trucks are, I guess, more in use than sports car too. By 2015, he was able to create a operating research facility in both Michigan and the Bay Area. Later, Michigan did become the headquarters a couple of years later because a lot of their suppliers were in Midwest, and Michigan is known to be like the place to develop cars. There's a lot of rivals there. I think Hyundai's there, probably Toyota, Ford is in Michigan. So like if you wanted to work in a car company, you should be located in Michigan. Probably there's a good reason why. And so yeah, that's how he started on building cars and the autonomous vehicles, I guess. They were more like electric vehicles. Now, 2017, the biggest news is Mitsubishi Motors, as you guys know, the Japanese car company. They actually got to acquire their factory. So compared to Lucid, who is building their own factory, they actually decided to acquire the plants for $16 million. This is located in Normal, Illinois. So around that region, like Michigan and Illinois, is probably like what, a 4 or 5 hour drive. So they got this. The plant was just for $2 million. Good deal, good deal. How they described it was it's essentially a new plant. It was commissioned in 1990. They did a good job of keeping up with all the equipment and invested massively in the early 2000s. So the robotics are all in great shape. Painting shop, great shape. Everything's good. We are really lucky we have found it. You know, it's like, yeah, it's like 16 million. That's not that bad compared to like what other people have to pay to build a new factory. So this became their main, like primary manufacturing facility. Congrats on getting it in, you know, a good location. Now, what's also good about this place was that the government and RJ made an agreement. If they created more than 1,000 jobs in the facility, they would gain access to the tax credits on offer, which is a both win-win case because Illinois probably do need more working jobs out there. And then Rivian actually did need more worker because by this time they only had around 200, even less than 200. So you know, to build a car, you need lots of people, and then they were also going to get funded. So it was a good case. Now, year later, since they got the facility and everything, they were able to introduce a new car. They got truck R1T. Oh, T must stand for truck now that I think about it. And then they got the SUV, which is R1S. Get it, guys? So both were revealed during the LA Auto Show. Makes sense. And these are the spec. This is for the R1T. As you know, it is an electric car vehicle. It's a pickup truck. It tells you the maximum speed and weight to power ratio. So you guys can take a look at that. This is one for the R1S, for the SUV one. Both great spec, you know, reasonable. They both were for rough terrains and semi-autonomous, so he still wants to go with like the autonomous idea, but still focuses more on electric. So a lot of cars try to aim both, and that was Rivian's also future plan, was hopefully that it will become a fully autonomous vehicle that's electric, right? And they were hoping to start production in 2020, but obviously you guys know that 2020 was delayed to global shortage. So, you know, 2021, they were in a rough position, but we'll talk about that when the time becomes. You guys know this. 2019, Amazon decided to invest in Rivian, which was a big news. So they wanted to enter a commercial agreement with Amazon. So Amazon wanted to collaborate on designing and producing and purchasing 100,000 electric delivery vehicles. So their first delivery date was supposed to be 2021. So we'll see if that actually becomes true. And also what was interesting was that they were only taking the 10,000 in the beginning and then taking the rest of, you know, 90,000 around 2030. So kind of like it was a long-term deal with Amazon. And the van was supposed to be just for Amazon. It was like Amazon specific van, and that it was supposed to help reduce the cost and shrink the carbon footprint, which makes sense because it's electric. So it was like a good deal for both of them. That's the Amazon Prime car. Kind of cute. I don't know if it's really this design, but yeah, people are saying for Amazon, this small investment is a good way to, you know, kind of be in the EV automotive market since everyone's jumping in. Like, if you haven't bought an EV related stock right now, it's kind of like, well, like you're kind of too late because everything's going up. But people are saying it was a good investment. Rivian was like a good time. Hopefully that Amazon would be joining the package delivery business and that like people are going to be happy. So 2019, Amazon joined Rivian and hoped to get into the electric vehicle market. Also, what happened in 2019 was Ford. They decided to put $500 million into electric vehicle startup Rivian. So Ford, as you guys know, is known for their trucks and I guess mostly trucks for me. They might be known for other things. But Ford wanted to create a new vehicle using Rivian's skateboard technology, which basically it's saying that the bottom platform looks like a skateboard, so that's why they called it, and they wanted to use it to build their own cars using their technology. So what's interesting around this time was that, you know, Ford, they're announcing that they're going to be in partners. They also realized that General Motors and Rivian didn't go well, so that's when, you know, like Ford was like, hey, we're better than them, you know, you could trust us. Before we talk about dropping on, what was interesting around the time that Ford decided to make, you know, an agreement was that they were actually talking with Amazon that same week saying that, hey, let's partner up to provide cloud-based transportation service. So it's kind of like a three-way, I don't know, it just, for me, it felt like it was like a three-way Amazon, Ford, and Rivian trying to make something big, good things together. Maybe Rivian was like that in between, helping out with the connection. You never know, but it was kind of interesting. A couple of months later, shockingly, they decided to cancel EV collaboration for Lincoln. They were like, you know, now that I think about it, I don't think it's a good idea. And they were saying that the technology was too hard to embed it for the Lincoln product. But then, you know, it was like, you know, the complexity and then the architecture didn't really go well with like the Ford's own software, blah, blah, blah. But you never know like what really happened in the background. Maybe Rivian had too much on their plate because they do have to build their own truck and Amazon with only one Mitsubishi factory. So I don't know if they were going to build Lincoln with them or give them their idea, or if Ford might have just actually seen their real technology and noticed that it's not worth their investment, or it's not worth Lincoln, their car, to be having their technology and they could find something better. But they ended up saying, hey, I don't know, Lincoln, maybe we could find a different, you know, one, maybe try our SUV, maybe, you know. But officially, they were like, I don't know, man. I don't know. 2021, Ford and Rivian stopped co-developing. So now they're not doing the SUVs. They're not doing any of the Lincoln cars. All they're doing is, hey, well, I'll just, you know, keep 12% of your stake, which is like still $10 billion. And this is kind of what Ford said. They're like, right now we have growing confidence in our ability to win in the electric space. So Ford is kind of saying, hey, like, we checked out Rivian. I don't think we really need your help. You could probably do one maybe similar or better. They end up saying, hey, we don't really need your help. I guess one of the questions that I got around this point was, why? Why doesn't Ford trust Rivian in their technology? Or why do they feel confidence about it? Or could they make it bigger, better, smarter? So that's something to look into. So all the hype up about Ford and Rivian ended up being nothing except buying their stock, right? Now moving on, 2020. So Rivian had to do their own thing. First thing they did was move their operations to California, which meant that their headquarters moved. So a month after, Rivian signed a new release for facilities in Irvine, Cali, with totaling of 250,000 square feet. It also reported that they're hoping to get an office in Orange County as big as 190,000 square foot, which could be serving as their new headquarters, replacing the one in Michigan. Don't know why they're moving to Cali, but one thing to worry about is what are they going to do with the factory in Illinois, and how well the communication is going to be, or if they're just going to also move their main factory to California, because I think it's still hard to work remotely as a manufacturing engineer. 2021, Rivian ended up beating Tesla, General Motors, and Ford, and they actually did let out their first electric pickup. This was their truck, and this was RJ tweeting about, hey, guess what? Everyone's out there clapping. Look at our first car. It's really cool. You guys would really like it. It's amazing, and it's so pretty. So, company had their customer come in, and they finally were driving off from Normal, Illinois. Actually, the car itself was delivered to the customer in October 2021, but they were actually delivering the final version. 2021 was known to have the chip shortage, but the fact that they were able to get trucks out faster than other big companies was a plus for Rivian. And I also think Rivian was doing such a great social media job right here, because I think RJ is kind of being like the round to Tesla. He is using Twitter a lot, so if you guys want to get any more updates on Rivian, definitely follow him on Twitter. Also, the Rivian spokesman did confirm, saying that it's been out there, it's out there, but she didn't say like the future plan of how they're going to increase the number of trucks or how much they were able to produce in one day. So that is still an unknown mystery, and I think that comes to a play later in the year. 2021, another big event that happened was their IPO. They got to sell 153 million shares at a price of around $78. So the value of the company ended up being $66.5 billion. It's much higher than a lot of the automotive companies in the US. Their offering raised nearly $12 billion from all the things that were being sold, and closed the day trading at $100 per share, valuing the company of $86 million. So for Rivian, because if you guys think about it, wouldn't you want to buy an IPO that's being supported guys, by Amazon and also Ford? There were great news out there saying that Ford was going to even ask Rivian to buy, use their skateboard technology into building their Lincoln or SUV and everything. So it does make sense that people were crazy about buying their IPOs. Now, Rivian in 2022. This does not look good. Like I said, they closed at 100. They were up around 120, between 120 to 140. But this is probably not the graph that they wanted to see. So the first fall probably ended up being, a sad news. And then from that on, for January, it just went down even further, shockingly. So what happened for the first fall? Their shares of EV startup Rivian hit new low following production snags. So they weren't reaching their production target. They were giving out all these issues, saying, hey, we had supply chain issue. There were some complexity into the production. It was challenging. There's also road issue, blah, blah, blah issue, all these issues. But, it still didn't make it. So let's figure out what happened in early January to February and seeing why people aren't interested in buying Rivian stock. So first thing is what we said earlier. They produced only 1,000. I was expecting 1,200, but it's now only 1,015, which isn't that bad, but to people, it's kind of I hate you. So RJ is kind of hey, honestly, production system, if you try to produce a car, it's a really complex orchestra. You don't have to think about the suppliers providing all the 1,000 parts, and then there's 1,000 robots, and then there's team members. They do have 1,000 workers, but they have all these there's that, there's this issue, and then there's that, blah blah blah. To investors, it kind of seems are you making things? It kind of seems like you're just. So also, what was interesting was that they produced 1,000 cars in 2021, but they have 71,000 pre-orders for their R1T pickup truck. So. At this rate, some of you guys who've pre-ordered Rivian trucks, you might get it in 2030 if they're only producing 1,000 vehicles in a couple of months. that's something to worry about for Rivian, and hope that that's something that they are going to fix on. Another kind of issue that people are saying for Rivian stock is that, you know, it's losing their shine about production delay. So it's basically the same issue that's happening over and over again. It's like, you said you were going to give me 1,200 cars, you only made 1,000 cars, and now there's like production delays. You say it's orchestra, blah blah blah. So what are the biggest issues on this product? Production delays. They say they need to produce 2 cars at a pace where they do not lose this window of opportunity. Is it going well? Do they need more workers? Like, what do they need? Like, that's something to look into. Also, remember, Amazon 2021. Is it out there? Have you seen an Amazon truck out there that's electric? You know, like, are you out there? You promised 2021 that there's gonna be Amazon cars. They are supposed to be delivering 100,000 Rivian cars sometime last year to this year. Let's say, you know, even if we move on, if you're only producing like 1,000 cars within like a couple of months, like, do we see it? I'm not sure. I would be very worried as an investor. Finally, sad news, but Rivian COO left company in December. You guys might be like, okay, Jinri, why is this sad news? Because like, people like come and leave, right? But it didn't help the fact that people found out that the COO left according to his LinkedIn. So there wasn't any like official, maybe it came out later, but the news came out through a press report / LinkedIn profile, other than like Rivian saying, hey, we had the COO who's been with us for a couple of years, you know, like to 2020, left because of some blah 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 issue. Like, they couldn't do a good job of this, so investors are kind of worried. Now, that's all for 2022 that's been going on. It's only been 2 months, and I hope their stock prices can go up.